boys and girls, welcome back to my channel and thank you for joining me on another episode of PriMath Zoom. Today's lesson, we will be adding unlike fractions. In other words, we're going to add fractions that have different denominators. So let's dive right in. Devon ate 3/5 of a raisin bread and 1/3 of a coconut bread. What fraction of bread did he eat? Remember now, a fraction is an equal part of a whole. So let's remember that when we're working our problems. So Devon ate 3/5 of a raisin bread. Right there, we have a bread and it's divided into fifths. So let's see 3/5 of it. 2, 3/5. So here, this bread is 3/5 and 1/3 of a coconut bread. So this other one is separated into 3 equal parts. And we have shaded one part to show 1 out of 3 parts is being considered. Now, if he ate 3/5 of one and 1/3 of another, it shows that these different breads are cut into different amount of parts. That means these parts are not equal. So, in order to find how much bread Devon ate in all, we have to ensure that the parts are equal. And how are we going to do this? Okay, so what we're going to do is basically overlap the third fraction over the fifth fraction. And that will now give us the same number of parts. Well, let's check it out right here. So here we have 3/5. And what we need to do here to ensure that all the parts are equal to the other fraction, we are going to cut this fraction shown here into thirds. So we're just going to go the other direction and we're going to cut each fifth into third. And that would have formed a new fraction. However, it has the same value as the original fraction. Do you know what we call these kind of fractions? Yes, we call them equivalent fractions. So here, if we count all the parts in this new fraction, you would see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parts. But how many parts are there now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 parts. And we would have shaded 9 parts out of 15 parts. Here, this 9/15 is equivalent to 3/5. Let's move on to the other fraction. So let's represent the third here again. And we're going to cut each third into fifths in order to ensure that all the parts are the same size. So here, we have cut each third into fifths, and you would realize that now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 small pieces. Now let's see if this whole has the same number of parts as the other whole. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yes, it has the same number of parts. So with this new fraction, we have 5 parts shaded out of 15 parts. And can you guess what 5/15 is equivalent to? Yes, it's equivalent to 1/3. So here we realize that we would have cut the 3/5 into the same size parts as we would have cut up the 1/3. So here, what we can easily do, we can now add the numerator as we used to do. So what we would do here, 9/15 plus the 5/15. Now, given that the denominator is the same, we just need to go right ahead and add the numerator. So here, 9 plus 5 will give us 14. So now we would have 14 fifteenths. So it is basically saying that 3/5 plus 1/3 is equal to 14 fifteenths. But we don't have to go through all of this. We could simply draw back our new whole with 15 equal parts. And given that we know that in the raisin bread, we would have 9 out of 15s, we could shade 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we know that in the coconut bread, we have 5 out of 15 parts. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when we count up all the parts here now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We would get 14 parts shaded out of the 15 parts. See how easy it is? All right, so here we can say that Devon ate 14 fifteenths of bread. Let's check out another one. Clover took 1/4 of a cake and 2/3 of another cake. What fraction did she take? So here's a cake, and we would have divided it into 4 equal parts, each part being a quarter. And we're going to shade 1 part of it. The other cake is divided into 3 equal parts, and we're going to shade 2/3 of it. So let's go. So we would have shaded now the quarter, and that is how a quarter is written. And now we would have shaded 2/3. Right, so if she took this cake and the other cake, that means in all, the cake that she would take, we would have to add to find that out. But what have you noticed? Yes, that the cakes are not cut into equal size parts. So we need to ensure that all the parts are equal. And in order to do that, we have to ensure that with the quarter, we have to cut each quarter into thirds. Also, the thirds, we have to ensure we cut each third into quarters. And that way, we will have the same number of parts in each cake. So let's try that out. Okay, so here's the cake with 1/4, and we're going to cut it in. Yes, we're going to cut each quarter in thirds. So if you look here, look at this quarter. How many parts are you seeing that quarter cut in? 1, 2, 3. So yes, that quarter is cut into thirds. Let's look at the other quarters. So this one is cut into thirds, the other is cut into thirds, and the other is cut into thirds. So all the quarters are cut into thirds. When we cut all the quarters into thirds, how many parts do we now have? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So now we have 12 parts. And can you tell me how many parts are shaded out of the 12? 1, 2, 3. Good job. So now we have 3/12. But remember that what we would have done is we have created an equivalent fraction to a quarter. So a quarter is equivalent to 3/12. That means they have the same value. Let us look at the 2/3. In order to get them in the same sizes, we must divide each third into, yes, good job, into quarters. So let's go right ahead and do that. Good. So let us check to see if each third now is cut into quarters. That means each third must have 4 equal parts. So let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. And the other part that's shaded would go 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 parts would be shaded here out of the 12 parts. And that would give us a fraction that is called 8/12. And of course, you would guess that 8/12 is equivalent to 2/3. Great job, boys and girls. So now that we have the two cakes cut into the same size and the same amount of parts, can we now know what fraction of cake Clover took? Of course we can, because what we could do is we could represent the fractions here. So we add 3/12 plus 8/12. Because we have the denominator being the same number, we now know that we can easily add the numerator to get 11/12, of course, but we can do it another way. Given that we know that each cake is cut into 12 equal parts, we could show a diagram cut into 12 equal parts. And we know from the first cake, she took 3 out of the 12. So let's go 1, 2, 3 out of the 12 parts. And in the second cake, she took 8 out of the 12 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here we can easily represent or easily look at the number of parts taken from the whole of 12. We can go right ahead and count to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 out of 12 parts. So Clover ate 11/12 of cake. And let's try another one, because I bet you have not noticed there was a shortcut there all along. So let's check out the shortcut with this other question. Hershey sold 2/7 of veggie pizza and half of cheese pizza. What fraction of pizza did she sell? So we have 2/7 and we have a half. If she sold this and then she sold this amount again, we can now add them to figure out what fractions she sold. So let's insert our plus sign to show that we're adding. But the shortcut is that you could have picked up, or perhaps you did, is that in order to get these fractions equivalent, what we could have done was multiply by each denominator. So we'll multiply this first fraction by the denominator of the second fraction. So 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, and then 2 multiplied by 7 is 14. So we would get a fraction of 4/14. Let's see if we can change 1/2 into an equivalent fraction too. So we need to multiply the second fraction by what? Yes, the denominator from the first fraction. Like this. 7 multiplied by 2 is 14, and 7 multiplied by 1 is 7. So we will end up with a fraction with 7 as the numerator and 14 as the denominator, 7/14. Do you realize that these two new fractions have the same denominator? Yes, they do. So we just need to go right ahead and add them. So here we will put our plus sign to indicate we're adding. And when we're adding fractions with like denominator, we just need to do what? Add the numerator. So 4 plus 7 will give us, yes, 11. And we just write back the same denominator. So here, Hershey sold 11/14 of pizza in all. Good job, boys and girls. Now it's your turn. Shanian used 5/6 liters of water and 1/5 liters of syrup to make drink. How many liters of drink did she make? Let's think about it. You go ahead and work it and leave your answers in the comments below. Thank you for exploring with me today. Please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to leave your answers in the comments. See you next time.